one up on you. Got Mark is down there. We got a motion to approve both month's minutes. Here a second.
Second.
Second. Monty Winkles. Any discussion? Jason. No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right. We also have a copy of financial report in the packet. Tammy Slinkers made a motion, Gary Bradley second. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed with no. Department report, Chief Redmond.
We're excited about this time of year. It's warming up, everybody kind of gets out and about. That can also cause some problems, so we're kind of stepping up some patrols in certain areas, what I call crime-prone zones. We were privileged last week to cook for the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week, and we got more of these community type situations coming up. And that's one of my that's why it's one of my favorites to get out and get in the community, play basketball with kids a little bit, get some hot dogs and everything for people. So other than that, we're doing good. We got one car. We bought it, I guess about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's at Federal Communications getting upfitted. So we'll get that out on the street. We put up some other cars for bid today on propertyroom.com to get those sold. And we don't just sell cars on propertyroom.com. We sell a lot of things that have been seized, from cell phones to guns to whatever property we have in our property room that we get afforded to us by the court, and we're able to make a little bit of money on that. We've also started doing VIN verifications. Anytime you buy a vehicle that has an out-of-state title, you have to do a VIN verification before you can get tags on that vehicle. State Police suggested we do this several months ago, and we started doing it within the last few weeks, and we have been doing it. There's been a bunch of them. We get between 3 and 5 a day, and they're $25 a piece, so we're getting some more money, some revenue. I was telling my secretary today, it's like we're finally bringing some money in. We hardly ever do that in the police department. So we're happy to provide that service for people, and it only takes about 10 minutes to get that done. So that's what we're doing. Stand with you. Thank you.
I want to add, Chief Redmond and I discussed this last week. Crime rate is down 25% in the city. That is worthy of applause. So, and they're going to keep working on that as well. Chief Kemper?
No, I don't have anything.
So your crime rate's down too?
It is. Fires are down. Fire prevention's working.
Mr. Fagan is not here. I know he's been out working on, we've got some water lines that's supposed to be getting moved down at Leona for RDOT work they're doing down there. May work out, we don't have to do anything down there actually, so except for capping off a line. So anyway, he's been working on that. Do we have any committee reports?
Beautification committee, we met and we went off the center barbecue. We had tickets out for sale, so pass the word if anybody that wants them. And it's going to be June the 29th on a Saturday. I'll need the police department to help that day.
My police department will be there. I will not. I'm actually leaving for vacation that day, but I'll make sure that we have to go there.
All right. I've already talked to Revis, and he's gracious with me and helping where we can. So.
You know they all will help.
Oh yeah, they were a big help last year, so we're real excited about that. So got a couple different things going on there this time this year, so hope it is successful.
Tammy, what about the spring fling? Are y'all gonna do that again?
We're not going to this year. We're not next year.
Any other committee reports? Board reports? Okay, we don't have any unfinished business that I know of. Actually, we do, that's what we're gonna work on these ordinances, but it's all got to take care of. Before we start the other, I'd like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to vote on a prospective addition to the Park and Recreation Committee. Michael Bentley resigned from the committee. He had a lot of family obligations along with work, which just took up too much of his time. The committee met and voted to recommend Heather Schrader to the council for approval to serve the remainder of Mr. Bentley's one-year term, which will end on December 31st. She can be reappointed for a 3-year term with the council's approval after that. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda?
Make a motion.
Jason Stewart made a motion.
Second.
Brett Parker second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right. Now that the agenda has been amended, do I hear a motion to approve Ms. Schrader for the Park and Recreation Committee?
I'll make a motion.
Jason Stewart made a motion.
Second.
Brett Parker second. Any discussion?
This is just for the committee, just stuff that needs, I just now got on,
Yes.
not any meetings. So it's just like where we have people from the town or
Well,
whatever.
the Park and Recreation
Yeah.
Committee needs, of course, anybody from town can.
Right, I mean, the ones that are on it is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, we've got a motion and a second on the discussion. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Toddy.
Brett Parker,
Four.
Bonnie Winkles, 4. Carol Roach, 4. Tammy Slinkard, 4. Jerry Bradley, 4. Jason Stewart, 4. Linda Smith is absent. Hazel Riley. Undecided. No, I'll vote yes. Donna England, 4. Cindy Wood, 4.
Motion carries. All right, on to the next business. We have several ordinances to be amended. Four of those are for franchise fees. The original ordinances were written and called it a franchise tax. It's not a franchise tax. And these were written 44 years ago and passed in 1980. And it just never was called, I guess. This is not a tax, it's a fee. And it's being charged to companies, not being charged to the residents or the consumers. It's up to the companies to charge the consumer that if they want to do that. It's not the city charging the consumer to do it. And so that, and then another change on these particular ordinances. Those same the ordinances industry wasn't excluded from having to pay this fee. The Arkansas Municipal League recommends all cities that have excluded industry to amend the ordinances to include industry to pay these fees. Again, these were passed 44 years ago. I've talked to a few of the industrial owners, and they have said that they understand the reasoning behind amending these ordinances. And it's just something that needs to be done. It should have been done a long time ago. So as those come up, we'll discuss those. There's a couple of other ordinances as well that need to be amended. And so we'll start out with that's the ordinance number 726. This will be pretty easy, pretty quick. Last month we passed ordinance 725 and discussed the fines for this. That was on changing it from, changing the law from, careless and prohibited driving, I think, and attentive driving, to hazardous driving. And we set the fee not to exceed $200. Well, after the word got back to the courts, they said that the fee's already set at $240 for inattentive driving. So, what we said, we brought this back and made the amendment to change it with not less than $250 nor more than $500 for this offense. So anyway, I'm going to ask Ms. Toddy if she'll read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 726, 2024. An ordinance amending Section 4 of the Ordinance 725, 2024 of the City of Trumann, Arkansas. Section 1. Section 4 of Ordinance 725, 2024 of the City of Trumann, Arkansas is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 4. Any person found to be in violation of this ordinance shall be subject to a fine not less than $250 nor more than $500 plus additional court costs. Fine money collected pursuant to this ordinance shall be placed in the Police Department's Capital Equipment Fund. Section 2. This ordinance shall become effective 30 days after its passage and approval. Section 3. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict.
Do I hear a motion to approve? So Jason Stewart made the motion.
I'll second.
Donnie England second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Alright, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules and have second and third reading by title only?
Make a motion.
Gary Bradley made a motion.
Second.
Carol wrote second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Ms. Toddy, will please read the second and third reading by title only?
An ordinance amending Section 4 of Ordinance 725, 2024 of the City of Trumann, Arkansas. An ordinance amending Section 4 of the Ordinance 725, 2024 of the City of Trumann, Arkansas.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Gary Bradley made a motion.
Second.
Cindy Wood second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed with no. Ordinance passes. Next is ordinance 727. It is to amend ordinance 557, 2011. A lot's changed since 2011. And, yeah, a little bit has changed. Now they've got these things called e-cigarettes and vaping devices and stuff like that. So this ordinance is being added to the list of prohibited items at all parks and at the medical field, and also to add cigarette as a prohibited location to this ordinance. Mrs. Toddy, will you read the ordinance, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 557-2011 to add the use of e-cigarettes and vaping devices to the list of prohibited use items and to add Cedar Park Field as a prohibited location. Whereas the City of Trumann recognizes the detrimental health effects associated with the use of tobacco products, electronic cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and vaping devices. Whereas it is the responsibility of the City Council to safeguard the health and well-being of the citizens of Trumann. Whereas ordinance number 557, 2011 regulates smoking in public places within the City of Trumann. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Trumann, Arkansas, Section 1, Ordinance number 557, 2011 shall be amended to prohibit electronic cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and vaping devices in areas where smoking and tobacco use is prohibited. Section 2, Cedar Park Field, located at the corner of North Crest and Cedar Street, is hereby designated as an additional prohibited location for the use of tobacco products, electronic cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and vaping devices. Section 3, due to the urgent need to protect public health, safety, safety, and welfare. This ordinance is declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety of the city of Trumann. Therefore, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage and approval. Section 4, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 5, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage, approval, and publication as required by law.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Donnie England made a motion. Jason Stewart second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we're talking about e-cigarettes and smoking, but we do say tobacco products. Is this going to include chewing tobacco?
Tobacco products. That's already in the ordinance.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Motion's been made and second. Let's see. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Toddy.
Brett Parker.
Four.
Bonnie Winkles. 4. Carol Roach. 4. Tammy Slinger. 4. Jerry Bradley. 4. Jason Stewart.
4.
Linda Smith absent. Hazel Riley. 4. Donnie England.
4.
Cindy Wood. 4.
The emergency clause is written in the ordinance. Thus, the passing of this ordinance includes the emergency clause. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules and have the second and third reading by title only? Jason Stewart made a motion.
Second.
Gary Bradley second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Mrs. Toddy, will please read the second and third reading by title only?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 557-2011 to add the use of e-cigarettes and vaping devices to the list of prohibited use items and to add City Park Field as prohibited location. Amending ordinance number 557-2011 to add the use of e-cigarettes and vaping devices to the list of prohibited use items and to add City Park Field as a prohibited location.
Motion to approve. Jason Stewart made a motion to approve.
Second.
Gary Bradley second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Ordinance passes. The next ones are ordinances 728 through 731. These are the ones that concern the franchise fees. First is 728. Mrs. Toddy, will you read the ordinance, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number An ordinance amending ordinance number 274 of the City of Trumann. Whereas the City Council of the City of Trumann has determined that immediate action is necessary to amend ordinance number 274 for accuracy and clarity, and whereas it is essential to replace the term franchise tax with franchise fee and to substitute the entity, the United Telephone Company of Arkansas, with Brightspeed, as well as to replace the word tax with fee for consistency and precision within the ordinance, and whereas it is necessary to remove the words from Section 1, but excluding revenues derived from industrial customers of said utility. Whereas it is necessary to replace the term tax with fee in Section 1, and whereas an emergency exists which requires this ordinance to become effective immediately upon its passage. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Trumann, Arkansas, Section 1, that ordinance number 274 of the City of Trumann shall be amended as follows. 1. The term franchise tax, wherever it appears in ordinance number 274, shall be replaced with the term franchise fee. Number 2. The entity, the United Telephone Company of Arkansas, wherever it appears in ordinance number 274, shall be replaced with the entity Brightspeed. Number 3, the term tax, wherever it appears in Section 1, shall be replaced with the term fee. Section 2, this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the City of Trumann. The reason for such necessity is to ensure clarity and consistency in the city's regulations regarding franchise fees. This ordinance shall therefore be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage and approval. Section 3, if any.
Opposed with no. Now entertain a motion to suspend the rule and have the next two readings by title only. Don England made the motion. Jerry Bradley second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed with no. Ms. Toddy will read the ordinance the second and third time by title only, please.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 274 of the City of Trumann. An ordinance amending ordinance number 274 of the City of Trumann.
Hear a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Jerry Bradley made the motion.
I second it.
Carol Rowe second. Any discussion?
We need a separate motion for the next one.
No, because it's actually in the order.
One vote is on the ordinance and the emergency clause.
I was asking, got that written down. Good. That's good. You cleared that up. So, any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed with no. All right. Next is ordinance number 729. I'm sorry, Ms. Toddy, will you read this, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 275 of the City of Trumann. Whereas the City of Trumann recognizes the need to update ordinance number 275 to accurately reflect current terminology and entities, and whereas it is deemed necessary to remove the term franchise tax and replace it with franchise fee for clarity and consistency within the ordinance, and whereas it is deemed necessary to replace the reference to Arkansas Power and Light with Entergy to accurately reflect the current entity name providing services within the jurisdiction of the City of Trumann, and whereas it is necessary to replace the term tax with fee in Section 1, and whereas it is necessary to remove the words from Section 1, but excluding revenues derived from industrial customers of said utility. Whereas it is necessary to declare an emergency for this ordinance to go into effect immediately. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the Trumann, Arkansas. Section 1. Ordinance number 275 of the City of Trumann is hereby amended as follows. 1. The term franchise tax, wherever it appears in ordinance number 275, shall be replaced with the term franchise fee. Number 2. The reference to Arkansas Power and Light appears in ordinance number 275 shall be replaced with Entergy. Section 2. Due to the urgent need to update and clarify the language within ordinance number 275, an emergency is hereby declared, and this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon passage. Section 3. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions hereof. Section 4. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage and approval.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Lexi Stewart made a motion. Carrie Rowe second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed with no. All right. Now I entertain a motion to suspend the rule and have the next two readings by title only.
So moved.
Mr. Stewart made a motion. So who was that? Bonnie Winkles second. Any discussion? All right, Ms. Toddy, will you read the second and third time by title only, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 275 of the City of Trumann. An ordinance amending ordinance number 275 of the City of Trumann. Do we need to vote on that? Suspend the rule?
Did we not?
No.
Sorry, I was asking to read. All in favor say aye to suspend the rule. Opposed with no. Thank you, Ms. Toddy. Right again.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 275 of the City of Trumann, and ordinance amending ordinance number 275 of the City of Trumann.
All right, motion to approve. Jay Stewart made a motion to approve.
Second.
Bonnie Winkle, second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Mayor, can I interject something real quick?
Yes.
Apologize, my allergies are killing me right now. To Jason's point earlier, and what you've said, before you vote on these, if it does have the emergency clause, you just need to make it clear which you have. There really probably needs to happen on each one, but your one vote is for the ordinance and the emergency clause. If any member who requested a separate vote on the emergency clause because they didn't want it to go into effect immediately, you could do that, and you would have to vote it separately. The other thing is, all these have passed by unanimous vote each time. That just need, I would make it a point to record that in the minutes that it passed unanimously, because technically the emergency clause has to pass by a 2/3 vote. And if you don't do a roll call on those, you wouldn't know that it passed by 2/3 unless you know that specifically that it passed by unanimous vote. So it's fine. Vote it like you are, but just be aware of that. And I would note in the minutes that these have all passed by unanimous vote. And if there's not a unanimous vote, then there may be a question as to whether or not the emergency clause has passed, in which case you would need to poll the members at that point.
In the minutes, I usually put all members voted yes.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Very good. Yep, that's perfect.
And if I hear a no, then I'll go back.
Yeah.
Have a poll. All right. So, that clear as mud? All right. 7:30 is next. Ms. Toddy, please read that ordinance.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 276 of the City of Trumann. Whereas it is necessary to update and clarify certain provisions within ordinance number 276 of the City of Trumann, and whereas it is deemed appropriate to replace the term franchise tax with franchise fee to accurately reflect the nature of the obligation, and whereas it is necessary to remove the words from Section 1, but excluding revenues derived from industrial customers of said utility. Whereas it is necessary to replace the term tax with fee in Section 1, and whereas an emergency is declared for the immediate effectiveness of this ordinance. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of Trumann, Arkansas, Section 1, ordinance number 276 of the City of Trumann is hereby amended as follows. Number 1, the term franchise tax, wherever it appears in ordinance number 276, shall be replaced with the term franchise fee. Number 2, the term tax, wherever it appears in Section 1, shall be replaced with the term fees. Number 3, in Section 1, the words, but excluding revenues derived from industrial customers of said utility, shall be removed. Section 2, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effective immediately upon its passage and approval. If any, Section 3, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions hereof. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage and approval.
Just to make a note, in case you notice there's not a name in here, changing the name or anything like we've done in the previous ones. This one is for Craig Head Electric. Craig Head Electric's not changed their name, so therefore there's no name change. I hear a motion to approve. Gary Bradley made a motion.
Second.
Jason Stewart second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. And the emergency clause is also included in this one with your vote. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rule and have the next two readings by title only? Gary Bradley made a motion.
Second.
Jason Stewart second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Ms. Toddy, will you read the second and third by title only, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 276 276 of the City of Trumann, and ordinance amending ordinance number 276 of the City of Trumann.
Make a motion to approve with emergency. Mr. Stewart made a motion to approve with emergency clause.
Second.
Second by Brett Parker. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Motion passes. And finally, 731. Ms. Patty, would you read 731, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 277 of the City of Trumann. Whereas it is necessary to update and clarify certain provisions within ordinance number 277 of the City of Trumann, and whereas it is deemed appropriate to replace the term franchise tax with franchise fee to accurately reflect the nature of the obligation, and whereas it is necessary to replace the term Arkansas Louisiana Gas Company with Summit to reflect the current service provider, and whereas it is necessary to remove the words from Section 1, but excluding revenues derived from industrial customers of said utility. Whereas it is necessary to replace the term tax with fee in Section 1, and whereas an emergency is declared for the immediate effectiveness of this ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of Trumann, Arkansas, Section 1, ordinance number 277 of the City of Trumann is hereby amended as follows. The term, number 1, the term franchise tax wherever it appears in ordinance number 277 shall be replaced with the term franchise fee. Number 2, the term Arkansas Louisiana Gas Company wherever it appears in ordinance number 277 shall be replaced with Summit. And number 3, in Section 1 of the words, but excluding revenues derived from industrial customers of said utility shall be removed. Number 4, the term tax wherever it appears in Section 1 shall be replaced with the term fee. Section 2, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effective immediately upon its passage and approval. Section 3, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions hereof. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage and approval.
I hear a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Jerry Bradley made a motion. Second. Lester Stewart second. Any discussion? Remember, your vote will include the emergency clause. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. I hear a motion to suspend the rule and have the next two readings by title only. Lester Stewart made a motion.
Second.
Lonnie Winkle second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Ms. Toddy, we read the ordinance the second and third time by title only, please.
Ordinance number 731, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 277 of the City of Trumann. Ordinance number 731, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 277 of the City of Trumann.
Your motion to approve.
Motion to approve clause.
Lester Stewart made a motion to approve along with the emergency clause.
Second.
Second by Jerry Bradley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Let me take you off along. Next up, the agenda shows ordinance number 732 as being the next one up on the list. After discussion with Mr. Gazaway and the Arkansas Municipal League attorneys, we're just going to discuss this issue tonight, and then Mr. Gazaway and I will work on the ordinance to get the wording correct. This ordinance is prohibiting the sale of pornographic materials and sexual paraphernalia in the city of Trumann. Just to give you a little background, we had word that someone had bought a piece of property on the interstate and gone up a store selling pornographic material and sexual toys and things like that. And I want to do what we can against that. That is not Truman. That it's insulting that this person thinks that's what Truman is, and that's how Truman is. We've been working on our reputation and the way people look at the city of Truman, and it's been changing. We don't need something like this to interfere with what we're doing and what we've got going. And so I had drawn up an ordinance, and we originally said, yeah, it's a good ordinance, but after talking with the municipal league and Jimmy done a little more research, I'm sorry, Mr. Gasaway done a little more research, and checking on it, the wording is not exactly where it needs to be. I want to let Mr. Gasaway on that.
Yeah, so the issue is that you've got some First Amendment concerns. When you say pornographic materials, but you don't have a very specific definition of it, that includes, materials that are intended to sexually or excite, including not limited to magazines, books, videos, DVDs, digital content. The issue with that, what would happen if it were this ordinance were challenged? It's not uncommon for these ordinances to be challenged. There's a very well-known case out of Jonesboro where a store called Adam and Eve that sold these types of products challenged the Jonesboro city ordinance. And I can't remember if it was successful or not, but the point is it was challenged. It's not uncommon for these to be challenged. And when they're challenged, it's usually because they say that the definitions are overly broad and would include things that would not otherwise should not otherwise be prohibited and would fall under the free speech rights. And that's what the Supreme Court has held. U.S. Supreme Court has held can strictly be prohibited is obscene materials. And obscene materials, according to the Supreme Court, have been defined as those that appeal to the prurient interest in sex and that lack any meaningful scientific, literary, artistic, or educational value. And that's even kind of a vague definition, but that's the definition the Supreme Court has used. There was a famous saying by one of the Supreme Court justices, Justice Brennan, I believe it was, when asked what in his mind constituted obscene materials, and he said, I know it when I... So the point is, it is hard to put a clear definition on this. They're just saying that materials that sexually arouse or excite is so broad that could include things that would otherwise be prohibited, or that would otherwise be legal. So a magazine with bikini models, I kind of use this example, a billboard advertising a tanning salon that had a scantily clad woman and a bare-chested man. Does that sexually arouse? Yes. Does it excite? Yes. Is that the purpose of it? Well, the purpose of it is designed to drive consumers to that destination, but it's doing so by trying to, by using sexual arousal. Now, there would be an argument against that. The mayor makes a strong argument why that should not be the case. And there would definitely be a counter-argument. The point is we don't want to have to get into a position where we're arguing we want the definition to be right, we want it to be ironclad, so that if they were to challenge it, we know based on precedent, and there are some other cities that have ordinances that have been challenged, that have withstood challenge, and that do meet constitutional muster. And so the point is, we probably need to use the definitions they use because we know that will withstand challenge. Mm-hmm. That was a long explanation and more than you wanted to know, but that's kind of what you deal when you get into these issues. You get into First Amendment issues, speech, content, basically discrimination, and you just want to get your wording exactly right because these are uncommon for these to be challenged. We want to make sure that ours is ironclad in the event it is challenged.
So I got a question. Can
the planning district not inside the city limits?
Planning district includes the city limits plus up to a mile outside the city limits.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I don't know the answer to that, because you're right. When you go outside of the city limits, there are certain ordinances and rules that the city has apply within a certain distance outside the city limits too. Your question is, I think,
Right.
would this apply outside the city limits just like other rules and some ordinances that we have that do apply outside the city limits? I don't know the answer to that.
We got a month to find out.
But we will find out. Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, it could technically change the way that licenses or permits are validated or created.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Those are all the issues that you'll face with these, when these types of issues come up. I will say the other part of it talks about materials including toys, games, paraphernalia. That's a broad definition. That can include lots of things. What is sexual paraphernalia and what's not? And I don't know how much of the discussion y'all want to have on that, but that requires kind of an analysis too. And so if we get our definitions right from ordinances that have been challenged and that have withstood challenge, then we won't have anything to worry about. And that's what we're going to do. So.
Anybody have any comments, questions, suggestions?
They have a section at Walmart, if you didn't know. It'll shock you when you come around the corner. There's a,
I didn't know that.
it's by the Shady Cream and Raisin.
Okay.
And the,
Check it out.
I saw that, and I know it's on my, but I got up on this today. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's by the
Any-
pharmacy.
Any other comments or questions on that issue? Mr. Gasway and I will work on this and be prepared for the next council meeting to have this ordinance hopefully worked out, worded right, and brought up. So, now we need to discuss the ambulance situation. And here's what we have been and where we are looking at the future. A little over a month ago, actually it's been longer than that. Even before I come to work here, when I was working at the sheriff's office, on a regular basis, I was noticing that we'd get calls for medic, and we'd hear the call, medic one's on their way from Jonesboro, or medic one's on their way from Harrisburg or Lake City. And that frustrated me because our citizens that need an ambulance is having to wait extra long. We went through this, and I've been working on this ever since I've been in office and trying to figure out something. Medic one sold, and they have a new owner. He's out of Maryland. He says as soon as his kids graduate, he's probably going to move to Arkansas. Super nice guy. He came in, and we had a discussion a little over a month ago. I got with Chief Redmond, and he got some stats for me from our dispatch. And 1/3 of our calls in Trumann were being dispatched from ambulances from Jonesboro, Lake City, or Harrisburg. I told Mr. Rosenberg that was not acceptable. And the kind of man that I believe he is, he agreed. But he said he just put a new CAD system in at Jonesboro at the ambulance dispatch, and he wanted to get his numbers and compare his numbers to ours. He asked if I'd give him a month to look at those numbers and compare them, and I said, sure. And so he came back to me Thursday, and believe it or not, his numbers were actually a little bit higher than 1/3 of the calls, and he was not happy with that. Before I go into the rest of that conversation, Friday, there was a meeting over at Harrisburg at the court annex with the county judge, the form court committee, and that was going for the ambulance situation in the county, along with all the mayors, county mayors, and different ambulance personnel, ambulance companies. They brought the question, do we need to go to one county-wide ambulance system? And my immediate answer was no. First of all, I've talked to some other ambulance companies, and they will not put enough ambulances. There's not an ambulance company around that's going to put enough ambulances in this whole county to adequately cover this county. And even the ambulance people that were there, medical ones, Crittenden County and Riverside, all four agreed that they just can't do it. But to be able to cover this county adequately, they're going to have to put a minimum of 6 ambulances in this county, if not more. And they can't do that. They have to make money, I understand. They've got to be able to survive and make money to survive to be able to pay the people. One of the issues we have, and Mr. Gasway and I have discussed this, is we need to figure out some way, whether it be through state legislature or Congress, to make sure that Medicare, Medicaid, and these other insurance companies are paying these ambulance bills on time and not waiting 7, 8, 9 months before they send a check for a payment. That's what's the biggest thing that's hurting these especially rural ambulance services. So I, along with the rest of the mayors, made the same decision that no, we don't need a county-wide ambulance service. And the county, the only thing they're going to do is they're going to look at the ordinance that states who can be on the rotation to make it a little more, put more ambulances in here, like BLS ambulances instead of just ALS. So the initial call will go out to an ALS ambulance. If a ALS ambulance is not available, then the closest BLS ambulance will be dispatched. So that being said, getting back to the conversation with Mr. Rosenberg, he came back and he had an offer for the city of Trumann. He said, I will guarantee 2 ambulances, an ALS and a BLS ambulance in Trumann, if I get exclusive rights to Trumann. And I said, no, we're not going to take that. I do not want an ambulance to have exclusive rights if they have their 2 ambulances out of town and we've got another ambulance close by that I can't call them because they have exclusive rights. And he understood that and agreed. And he said, I told him we would give him, if we sign the contract, we'll give him first call and second call until he runs out of ambulances. And if that's, once he runs out of ambulances, then the closest ambulance we can find is that we'll call him to come. Now, understand, inevitably, he could put 6 ambulances in Trumann, and at some point, all 6 ambulances are going to use. And it's going to happen. That's just the law of nature. It's going to happen. So understand that. But if we get 2 guaranteed ambulances in town, and the other provision was, should the first 2 ambulances be going on runs and be out of town, he will send a 3rd ambulance to Bay to stand by until we get an ambulance back in town. So they're not coming from Jonesville. They're still very close to Trumann from Bay. And he agreed to that, and he has written up a contract, sent it to me. I sent it to Mr. Gasway and let him read over it. We're not going to act on this tonight. We'll only discuss it. And all also let you know, well, first of all, Ms. Gadsden, did you get a chance to read that?
I saw it come through my email, I glanced at it, but I didn't read it in detail, and I apologize about that.
Also, Southern Paramedic has called. They want a meeting with me, and they're going to meet with me tomorrow morning. I'm sure they're going to have some kind of an offer as well. I'm not sure what. I've done a little research on Southern Paramedic. They're pretty solid throughout the state. Several counties throughout the state, they've got ambulance service in, and financially they're pretty stable. As far as their service goes, how well they treat people, I don't know that. But if he does make an offer, I'll tell him to send me his offer, his contract, and we'll compare the two, and we'll make some phone calls. And kind of the way I look at it is we know what we got with Medic One. The guys are good. The ambulance personnel are very, very respectful. They're good. They know their job. My only issue I had with them, 1/3 of their calls weren't coming from Trumann. They weren't being dispatched from Trumann. They had to come from Johnson. And yeah, I've made the cliche, if you want to call it that. I've told several, even told them Friday, I'm not going to play politics with my citizens' lives. It's just not worth it. And we need to get something in place. I'm not for a contract, but if that's what it takes to make sure that our citizens are taken care of, then that's what we need to do. And so, if Southern Paramedic has a contract that they want to offer, we'll bring both contracts to each of you. You'll all get a copy of it. Give plenty of time to be able to read through them, compare them, and then we'll do a little research and see what kind of service they give at other cities, other counties, and then we'll just go from there. Regardless, we're going to have to do something, because if we don't, we could wind up without an ambulance service. And that right now is what Mark Tree back on Toronto is facing. Riverside Ambulance is in dire straits financially. Big problem. They cut, and I mean they're even back to just one ambulance covering all 3 cities. We don't want that here. Now, that's one thing I didn't mention with Medic One is the second ambulance will be a BLS ambulance, and they would want us to house the ambulance somewhere. Now, a couple of options. One, once the fire station is built, we may have a bay over at fire station number 2 that they could use, possibly. The other option is, and I kind of like this option better, last council meeting we discussed the sale of the old rural water office. Immediately after that meeting, I think Jason and I were discussing it, and Jason made a comment, because we talked about the ambulance situation. Why don't we just lease that for $1 a month or $1 a year or whatever, and let the ambulance use it? And that way we're putting a little skin in the game, but they're not going to charge us for the ambulance service. We don't have to pay them for the ambulance service. We just signed a contract that we allow one first and second call, or a call until they run out of ambulances. So I did make that option to Mr. Rosenberg, and I told him that he would need to clean the building up. It would probably need a coat paint on it. It's got two stalls, 2 bays. If he was interested, the building's a good, solid building, but if he was interested, it would be a really good building for him. And so he's taking that into consideration as well. Not sure what Southern Paramedic want. I mean, I don't know why we couldn't offer them the same opportunity. But these are just things to think about, and I am 100% completely open for comments or suggestions. Situation.
we still making a lot of first responder calls as well?
Oh, yeah, I would say about 60% of our calls, which it's, the ambulance issue is pretty complex, and obviously it's not just Trumann, it's county, state, and nationwide problem. But yeah, probably 60 to 75% of our calls are EMS. They have been my whole career. It's just we're getting more, from 300 to 1,400 now a year from when I started, so it's a pretty significant jump, but it's complex. The fix, build a hospital in Poinsett County that'll reduce transport time, but who's going to do that? Your biggest problem a lot of times is transport time. You transport from Trumann to Jonesboro, it's about a 3-hour turnaround. 30 minutes on scene, give or take, 30 minutes to Jonesboro, 30 minutes to trade your patient with the hospital, 30 minutes to restock, 30 minutes back. So, and that's fast. That's really moving. But yeah, so Trumann's in a lot better shape than the rest of the county. That's the reason the county's having the meetings. In fact, some of them were upset that we did have the ambulances that we have, to say that lightly. But we need to be better. It's like the mayor said, we don't want to play politics with people's lives. And we're in a decent spot here in Trumann with the ambulance that we have, but it can be better, and it needs to be better. Obviously, that's an issue. 30% of the calls are coming from out of the town. And that's an issue. It's not an easy fix, but I think this is the right direction.
Another thing to point out, and Chief Redmond made this point, brought this point out. If an ambulance gets called and they don't transport, they don't get paid.
No.
So one of the things that I think we can do to help is our first responders can determine a lot of times if it'll be a ALS or BLS call.
Yeah, so Trumann, we're pretty good at, it's my fire department. We're the best fire department in the county. Maybe I'm a little biased, but we are. And we do make that call. We are an ambulance, or not an ambulance, but an EMS agency with the state. We have paramedics, EMTs, and we have, first responders, which is just your levels of training. But yeah, we make that call a lot. So if we get a call in the county and the truck is coming from Jonesboro, Lake City, Harrisburg, I've had them all the way from West Memphis. Then we'll make that call. If the patient is not critical and doesn't need EMS, we will see if they can go POV or their own vehicle. And if they will, then they can, or if they don't need it, a lot of times we can assess that and we will cancel the ambulance to save that transport time. But, abuse of the 911 system, it really is, and I don't know how to fix that either. Not everything's an emergency to me, but when the person calls 911, it is an emergency to them at that time. So, but yeah, we do that. Mayor Woods hit it on the head. We already do that, and we're pretty good at doing that and trying to cut that transport time down and save those ambulances that wasted trip to what we call a 004, which is the paperwork number, which is a non-transport.
And another to go along with that is they can make a decision, hey, this is not an ALS call, and they can send a BLS ambulance instead of an ALS ambulance, and our ALS ambulance is still here available.
Yeah, so once a paramedic makes patient contact, Arkansas requires that to stay there. You can't downgrade. So if a paramedic makes patient contact with a patient, that you can't downgrade to a basic truck or an EMT. But if an EMT makes contact first, then the protocol is to attempt to meet a paramedic service en route to the hospital if you can. If you can't, you continue with your transport. But so saving that transport enables the BLS, keep coming with a BLS truck, it saves your paramedics some time too.
The difference in, I maybe don't know those terms, but a BLS only has EMTs on it.
Yes.
And an A, which is basic life support, and an ALS is advanced life support. They have paramedics on it.
Yes.
So there's
just that.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
certain things that BLS
Sorry.
medic or EMTs can do, and a paramedic, they can pretty much do what doctors do.
And I apologize, I should have made that one when I was saying that.
When I first came here, I lived on Harrisburg because I didn't know what he wanted me to do. He got me here. But I was spending the weekends with my mother, and she had not been taking her medicine good. she had the same symptoms as my son and my husband had, before they had a heart attack and died. And I had tried to get her to go to the doctor, but she was stubborn woman, still is. But early Sunday morning, I heard her say, Jerry, and I ran in there. She was on top of the commode, and she said, do you want to go for a little ride? And I knew exactly what was happening. So I called 911, and I was told then that there wasn't an ambulance. And that, I just, they told me how long it would take, probably. So I probably just didn't. I got her in the car, and took off. Then I called the hospital and told them that I was on the way. And I didn't even know about new highway, so I went the old highway, and the doctor, the surgeon was outside waiting. He had a perfect car, and he said, you sign her up, and they were resuscitating her. When I got back there, she was in the hospital 5 different times for the first of the year. That was right about Thanksgiving. And she's got a pacemaker now. But I lived through that, not having her. And so it's...
We hear it on a regular basis. And that's the whole point. And again, Mr. Goldenberg is, I think he's genuine. I've talked to him several times, and I think he genuinely wants to make it better. But I'm also not beyond exploring something that could be even better than that. And so that's why, I'm not going to turn down Southern Paramedics to talk to me and maybe offer a contractor what they can offer, and we bring it before council and let y'all discuss it, look at it. Another thing, we got to have the nursing home. Hopefully will be built by the end of the year. That's going to be more transports. And Mr. Goldenberg said that once that gets up, very well may put a third ambulance here, another BLS ambulance here, that's hopefully goes to be transported to the nursing home. So he is concerned, and he does seem to want better for the citizens of Trumann. So, any other suggestions or questions, comments? All right. If not, then we'll move on to the item. You should have a letter in your packet. This is just to let you know that I'll be on vacation beginning Saturday, the 25th of May, and I'll be back Saturday, the 1st of June. And unless the council has an objection, Bob Sal will be interim in my place until I return. And so, just to make it official, can I get a motion to approve Bob as my interim? Jason Stewart made a motion. Can I get a second?
I second.
Hazel Riley second. Any discussion? I won't go with it. Well, first time out of the country. No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with no. Thank you. And I will have my personal phone with me. And also next week, just to let you know, I'll be at the Rural Development Conference Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. But I will have both of my phones and be close enough I can get back. Nothing else on the agenda. I'll go to the mayor's report, and I'll make this quick. Fire station rebuild is moving along. There was an issue with the company that was contracted to produce the pre-engineered building. They were not answering calls. They were not providing drawings for CNI, not providing dates of completion. It was just, they basically were in breach of contract in several different areas. We met with CNI, Board Architects, our engineer Wayne Minley, Chief Kemper and I, we discussed all of this, and the company that had the next lowest bid is a reputable company that's done many jobs in this area, and they guaranteed to have the building completed in 10 to 12 weeks. That's the pre-engineered building, not put up and everything. The pre-engineered building completed 10 to 12 weeks. They came off of their price some, and with the price, it's still keeping us under budget. So I checked with Mr. Gazaway to make sure I could make that call without having to go to council. He said, since we are under budget still, then that's a call that we can make. And we make the call to go ahead and fire this company out of Colorado and hire Summit now, not Summit.
Okay.
Pinnacle. So along with that, I asked CNI to file a lawsuit against that company and naming us as one of the parties of plaintiffs to get hopefully judgment back that will pay our loss of the amount of money difference that it is between what it originally was and what it is now. That number is $21,000, and that was after cutting some of the price. So CNI said that they would, and would also, which they're going to have to pay us. I think it's $300 a day that they're late on getting this stuff, which they will try to get back from this other company as well in their lawsuit. So anyway, I wanted to get you up on that. And according with Pinnacle, they still have a projected date at the end of September if weather holds up. So hopefully we're still going to get into the fire station by the end of September. They got it soon enough. We've made the decision that we can get it going and still go on. Let's see. The fences on the old disposal side and the tennis courts are complete. I have sent in the request for reimbursement on the old disposal side. Should hear from them, from Adam this week. They're the ones that will be doing the reimbursement. We've had the EDA grant kickoff meeting, and all the paperwork, pre-work steps are being taken. The estimated bid date will be July. Hopefully construction will begin late August for the Clearwater tank. This again, you got to go through all the red tape and dot the I's and cross the T's and everything else to get the grant. Make sure you do it right so you don't lose the grant. So anyway, we're making the right steps. Baseball season is rolling along. Scott and Macy have been doing a great job along with the Park and Recreation Committee and other volunteers. I've heard a lot of compliments on how the field and the complex in general is getting cleaned up and how they're looking. I have an ordinance ready get a measure on the ballot in November. I mentioned this a little bit last council meeting. This is to raise taxes on alcoholic beverages and an A&P tax on hotels and fast food restaurants. The taxes generated would go directly to the Parks and Recreation for renovating our parks, the complex, and TRC, along with the possibility of a new structure that would house an aquatic center and community center with several basketball and volleyball courts. The aquatic center would be a swimming pool, Olympic-sized swimming pool, and it all depends on how much money we can generate. We've got to look at the budget and how much money we can generate off of that tax. Again, this would go before the voters in November if we pass the ordinance to put it on the ballot. We're working on getting a render of what the things would look like and bring it before the council and let everybody look at it and make a decision on which way to go with it. So, a reminder that the Piccolini Circus is coming to town June the 14th to the 16th. This will be free to kids. We have our applications in for the Mayor's Youth Council. We plan to have them set tomorrow and let each one of them that that have been chosen know tomorrow. Of course, the vision of the Mayor's Youth Council is to empower Trumann High School students dedicated to personal development and servant leadership, allowing them to work along with me, with you, come to council meeting, learn about city government, how it works, and hopefully prepare them to want